Mike Tyson's best friend was allegedly the man that shot 50 Cent 9 times and nearly killed him. Because of this, many people look at Mike Tyson and speculate that he was the one who may have had something to do with 50 getting shot. But in reality, this situation goes much deeper than you think. Mike Tyson grew up in the Brooklyn borough of New York around the 1970s. Here, he would find his love for boxing by fighting people in the neighborhood that tried to bully him. And through this, he would make friends with another fellow fighter in the neighborhood who was known for knocking people out with one punch and robbing them, Darryl. Darryl had a reputation of violent crimes in the streets and had also become a known hitman, and through this, he earned the name Homo, which was short for homicide. But this wasn't actually how Darryl got his name in the public. That would be because Darryl was allegedly the man that was responsible for famously shooting 50 Cent 9 times. Around the year 2000, Darryl was released from prison after serving time for an unknown sentence. When he was released, Mike Tyson would look after him to make sure he wouldn't go back to his criminal past. Through this, he gave him some money, bought him a car, and a Rolex. He would also even offer Darryl a job to be his bodyguard. But despite all of this, Darryl still wasn't so keen on accepting Tyson's offers because he wasn't too fond of his friend handing him everything, so he decided to jump back into the street life. Now back into the gangster lifestyle, Derek would become a member of the Peanuts gang, and through this affiliation, he would become closely woven with the infamous drug dealer and gang leader of the Supreme team, Kenneth Supreme Griffith, who was also affiliated with Murder Inc. Records, whose top artist was Darryl, who was also famous for his beef with 50 Cent. In the year 2000, 50 Cent will famously get shot 9 times in an assassination attempt, and many people ask the question, why did 50 get shot? Well, in a 2013 interview with Howard Stern, 50 was asked the question, why did he get shot? And he simply responded with it just being bad karma.
He was paid to do it.
Yeah.
Who would want to shoot you?
Why were you targeted?
You're such a good guy.
It's my past.
It was a drug thing?
No,
like a
just-
business thing?
It's karma.
But in reality, it wasn't that at all. See, in the year 2000, 50 would release his song, Ghetto Quran. And in this song, he would talk about his life growing up in the violent streets of Queens and how his neighborhood was run by Kenneth and Prince, who was Kenneth's nephew. And by this, Kenneth was furious with 50 because he believed that 50 was snitching on him by revealing what he did in the streets. And so, he hired a hitman to take him out. The day was May 25th, 2000, and 50 Cent and his friend Curtis Brown was at his grandmother's house. 50 and Curtis had initially left the house, but 50 had went back to the house to get his chain. But unaware to 50, there would be a gunman sneaking up behind him. The gunman then proceeded to fire 9 shots at 50, hitting him in his legs, arm, hands, hips, chest, and even on his cheek. 50's friend Curtis then drove him and 50 to the hospital, and 50 spent a whole month in the hospital under critical condition, but managed to recover. During this time, Mike Tyson was in Phoenix training for a fight that he had at the end of the month, and Darryl decided to fly out to visit Mike in his city. Since Mike had a press conference in England, Darryl decided to fly back to New York instead of going with Mike. Then, the next day, Darryl was at a corner in the Bed-Stuy neighborhood of Brooklyn, and while walking down the street, a gunman would walk behind Darryl and shoot him in the head, with Darryl being pronounced dead on the scene. Then, on the day of Tyson's fight, he would win it in just 38 seconds by knockout. And after the fight, in the post-game interview, Tyson would honor his friend.
I dedicate this fight to my brother, Darryl Brown, who died. I'll be there to see you. I love you with all my heart.
Did and then have this in 7 or 8 seconds
for this fight. I only trained probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks for this fight. I had to bury my best friend, and I dedicated this fight. I wasn't going to fight. I dedicated this fight to him.
Now, after months in the hospital, 50 would make a recovery and went back to making music. And in 2003, would release his debut album, Get Rich or Die Trying. And on his record-breaking hit Many Men, where he spoke about the details of the events that took place when he was shot, 50 rapped the lines, "In the Bible, it says what goes around comes around. Almost shot me 3 weeks later, he got shot down. Now it's clear to see that I'm here for a real reason, cause he got hit like I got hit, but he ain't effing breathing." In May of 2003, Ja Rule's record label Murder Inc. was raided due to speculation that Supreme was laundering drug money through the record label. During the investigation, it was also found out that Supreme was actually involved with the assassination attempt of 50 Cent 3 years before. But Supreme's son, Kenneth Jr., believes that everything that was said about his father wasn't true.
My dad is like allegedly capable of such things.
But that's why you use the word allegedly.
Right.
So it's not
we can never really prove
Yeah.
it, but
I mean, I feel like I don't really base anything that I do of gossip or like chirps about something. Like where does it say that he was the one that did it? I don't even think that's like a thing. I think people just came up with that own conclusion on their own.
I mean, if you watch 50 Cent movie, it just seems like your dad was majestic.
That's all subjective though. You feel me? That's all subjective. Like it's not proven.
But do you really think your dad wouldn't be capable of putting money on somebody's head? Because to me, it seems pretty obvious that was the kind of thing that he probably did do at times.
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so.
In 2005, a journalist named Ethan Brown came up with a book titled Fat Cat, 50 Cent, Rise of the Hip Hop Hustler, which was about the height of the hip hop and gang culture in New York. And during his research, he stated that Darryl was the shooter that tried to kill 50 Cent. This would also serve as the first time that Darryl was publicly named as 50 Cent's attempted killer. Finally, in 2007, after everything would blow over, 50 Cent would purchase a $4.4 million 21-bedroom mansion in Connecticut that was actually previously owned by Mike Tyson himself. Why did 50 decide to buy a mansion that was previously owned by his killer's best friend? Who knows? Maybe just petty behavior. Granted, this was around the time that Mike Tyson had filed for bankruptcy and was alleged to be broke. Fast forward to today, and 50 is one of the most successful men in the world today, amassing 15 platinum records, 6 gold records, and a diamond record. He also has his hand in the show business with TV shows like The Power Series and BMF, which have won multiple awards. And with an alleged net worth of $500 million, it's clear that 50 is way past that lifestyle. Mike Tyson filed for bankruptcy in 2003, but had recovered from that time. Nowadays, Tyson participates in a lot of podcasts where he talks about his life during his boxing days. He also owns a pretty successful weed dispensary business with multiple stores in California, Michigan, New York, and Illinois, with even expanding to eastern countries like Thailand. Kenneth Supreme Griffith is currently serving a life sentence at the ADX Florence prison in Colorado after being convicted of several murder for hires. McGriff was willing to be sentenced to death in exchange for the ability to testify at his trial, but he was never granted the right to testify and was instead sentenced to life in prison. He actually wrote a letter to Obama asking for a presidential pardon to return to court and testify in his own defense, but nothing ever came of it. Darryl Baum was shot dead 3 weeks after 50 Cent, with also the other members of Peanut Gang dying right after due to the height of gang violence. Darryl's brother was also shot dead shortly after him, allegedly due to speculation that he might retaliate for his brother's death. Although 50 Cent wasn't able to stop the hit Supreme Griffin sent on him, there was another musician out there that was able to stop a $50,000 hit on a rapper, saving him from 30,000 Crips simply by just sitting down. Click here if you want to know about that story.